how well do you think the Curly Daddy situation's gonna end?
I forgot about Curly Daddy. I didn't forget about Curly Daddy. I forgot about the situation. I feel like it's Curly's such a nice guy. I love Curly. He's a great guy. He's a young man to me. I just turned 31 actually. I think that he's fucking laughing because I'm old. I think that like he's handling it a little bit. He's taking it to heart a little bit because he's a really nice guy. For me, I would just be laughing at it. I think it's gonna end like just in general. Like no, like it's not like a huge thing. Like these e girls or what do you call them, alt girls? They're not gonna hurt him at all. Like it's just a bunch of kids screaming. So
yeah.
So yeah, hopefully he'll do okay. It's Curly. He'll survive. He'll be okay. Hopefully he'll pop in here. So anyway, thank you for the questions, my man. All right.
All right.
Take care. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Papa. So first, I wanted to know your take on the Daunte Wright situation.
So what is the Daunte Wright situation? I think I know what it is. I just wanted a clarification.
Yeah. So basically, what happened? Well, the official story is that Daunte Wright had like an air freshener in his car, like on his like rear view mirror, which is like not a felony, but like you're not supposed to do that in Minnesota because it can like obstruct your view. So they pulled him over, found out he had an outstanding warrant, They tried to remove him from the car. They handcuffed him, and then they took off the handcuffs, and then he tried to get back into the car. And then a female cop tried to tase him, but the official story is that she accidentally shot him.
Why did she try to tase him? Did he escape?
Yeah, he tried to. They unhandcuffed him, and then he tried to like get back in the car and drive away. So she tried to tase him, but she grabbed her gun by mistake and shot him. So it seems like pretty clear. Like
give me 1 second. Let me just read into this like really quick. Do you know what the warrant was for?
It was for so when he was like 17, he got caught smoking a joint, and then like
okay, so
it's
just stupidity. Right?
There's nothing, but like he like missed the payment because it was like,
and the police officer, it's like whatever. Like, I mean, especially with COVID. Like, I mean, I don't even have my license. Well, I do. Don't tell anybody I said that. Anyway, everybody's late on something because of COVID. Like, okay. I think I actually saw a video on TikTok of this of her shooting him. Okay, so basically, we have a situation where a young black man was pulled over for some bullshit, honestly, and because I have shit in my fucking. Whatever. He gets pulled over for something like that's kind of stupid, and then it turns out there's a warrant out for him, or
he had an active warrant. It wasn't like he killed somebody, but it was like it's like I think it's like protocol. Like if someone has a warrant, you have to like detain them,
and
then so they put him in handcuffs. His girlfriend was in the car too, and then I don't know what happened. They either took him off the handcuffs or they let go of him, and then he tried to get back into the car. So the officer tried to tase him, but then she grabbed her gun by mistake and shot him.
An outstanding warrant. Custody. I'm just trying to find what the warrant is specifically. Not that I don't trust you. I just want to verify it.
I can find it. I think I have it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Failure to appear in court.
Okay, what was it for? Failure to appear in court for what? Like some...
They sent him a notice to court, and it got returned from his address because it was sent to the wrong address.
Oh, so that makes it even worse. We have an issue in the United States, specifically, it seems, where you have mostly young black men playing I'm Not Touching You with the cops. Where what'll happen is they'll resist in a way that they know is going to bring escalation. On some instances, it's like a way that seems peaceful in order to be a little bit performative for a camera. And then a police officer who's not trained well enough to flip a burger at fucking Burger King shoots the person. And at the end of the day, it is 100% the police officer's fault. It's your job as a police officer to deal with resisting arrest in every capacity. I don't pay you my tax money so that you kill people. You're a police officer. And in general, police officers act far too much like our bosses and like authoritative figures when realistically speaking, they're supposed to be our protectors. And I know a lot of conservatives focus on, well, they were resisting, and a lot of progressives talk about how it was unwarranted. And a lot of the times these people get pulled over, they may not even be warranted, but it's kind of an irrelevant thing because I think that people, we need to start thinking of this from the perspective of the family of the person, and this is more to the person that gets pulled over, is, you know, I think we're at a point now where we need to advocate for people to try to make it home to their family. It's one of those things that as a man I understand having an ego and, you know, feeling like you're being mistreated and wanting to respond to that, and it makes perfect sense. But I think that we need to start focusing on people swallowing their pride so they can make it home to their daughter or their son or their mom or their dad or their brother or their sister. And it's another unfortunate situation, and I would compare it a bit to women walking home alone at night. You know, of course you shouldn't be resisting arrest, but like if you're shot, it's 100% the police officer's fault. But like, you know, you're putting yourself in a situation where you know it's going to be a coin toss. It doesn't matter if it's 1 in every 1,000 or 10,000 or, you know, pullover, we'll call it, or interaction. That's far too many. So that's kind of that's the way that I would interpret it. It's just another example of untrained police officers fucking up, and we just need to focus on people getting home. So
I think for me the unfortunate thing is those people on the left especially are trying to treat this as though it was like an intentional murder, and then like, you know, they try to make it a race-based thing when it seems like, I think like even Ben Shapiro was like, this is involuntary manslaughter and that woman should go to jail. So I
don't think it's a race thing. I don't think it's I mean, okay, if it's a race thing, it's a race thing more in a much deeper conversation of maybe historical trauma, in the sense of like there is something there when it comes to specifically poor Black Americans and police officers that's just constant. There's just tension that's always there, and maybe it's historical trauma. I don't really know exactly what. Probably historically being mistreated by police officers, even if they're not mistreating the Black community now. That like, you know, your parents or their parents or their grandparents still pass down those frustrations onto their kids. So I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if it's race related. It doesn't really matter. A police officer shouldn't be shooting somebody who's resisting arrest. That's not your job. And you get paid to not do that. People need to take it more seriously.
All right. So my first one was about the podcast, and like, do you like have a set date, or are you still trying to figure out when that starts?
No. So we're gonna get everything done this week. I have the other 3 ones coming on this week. I just don't know when I'm generally going to schedule them. So I'll probably do the one that I labeled the Real Cop Gut podcast, which is more social and political on Fridays. The Guts podcast, I'm not entirely sure. It might be Monday or Tuesday. The fan Q&A, maybe it might be like Tuesday or maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I haven't gotten it down 100%. I might actually do like a Twitter thing, figure it out, and ask people what's the best day for them, because maybe people would prefer Saturdays. I don't really know, but I'm going to figure it out by next week, and I'll have like a more set in stone schedule.
Okay. I look forward to listening to it because it seems interesting.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, geez. What's your favorite part about the new house?
My favorite part about the new house, that I like everything's my house pretty much. Like I can walk around, do whatever I want. I can walk around naked. I can pee and poop wherever I want. It's just the whole thing's mine, you know.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, and there's no curtains, so everybody could see everything.
Yeah, so this one, it's about the whole Lil Nas X situation.
In my opinion, in general, when it comes to Lil Nas, like, you know, the music video is stupid. I don't care. Like, it doesn't offend me. I think it's just dumb. The shoes were dumb. The thing that bothered me the most is that like Lil Nas probably made like 40 TikToks over 2 or 3 days about like just reposting other people's things.
Yeah.
And I don't like Lil Nas now because it's just so annoying.
Yeah.
It was just so annoying.
Yeah. He posted a lot, like every 5 minutes or something.
I know. He would just repost other people's stuff, which is cool. I get it's a marketing campaign, but it was just so goddamn annoying.
Conor McGregor in January said that he would give Dustin Poirier $500,000 to his foundation, the Good Fight Foundation.
Okay.
But as of yesterday, Dustin Poirier tweeted that he never received any money whatsoever from Conor McGregor.
Okay.
That's
shitty. It's a shitty thing to do. I don't know if I necessarily have an opinion. I mean, he's an asshole. Why? I don't know. Why did he say that he was going to give it if he's not going to give it? I feel like he has.
Because I guess he's trying to get like integrity. I guess because it was like a rematch, and he was like, you know, I want to act like a good person, but then he got knocked out. So I guess it might be some like.
He's just being a baby, you know? Is that what it is? Yeah, maybe. I didn't know that. Let's see if we can look into that.
And they were scheduled to have a match in July again because it was a trilogy. Conor won the first one, Dustin won the second one, and
Okay.
after getting called out, he's like, fuck you, this fight's off, because
What?
he got his like integrity question. In his
So how did he get his integrity question?
Because he said that I'm gonna pay $500,000, and then he called him out saying he didn't pay $500,000, which
Oh,
not-
I see what you're saying. So he called the third fight off because he lied about paying $500,000 and he got called out for it.
yes.
Okay, well, Conor McGregor's a poopy head then. I don't know. It's kind of like a childish thing to do. What's the foundation do? Is the Good Fight Foundation?
I'm pretty sure he said that the $500,000 would go to building a gym for impoverished youth. He makes like parks for like disabled people, disabled kids usually.
So this way, they get nice and swole, but they can't eat. That makes sense.
Yeah, Dustin's like an upstanding guy.
Oh, that's nice. That is good though. It's good to have like something to channel your energy into, especially in like those poor areas, because you can get caught up in trouble. So that's a nice thing. Too bad Conor McGregor's kind of an asshole apparently. So I guess fuck him.
How's the new house going?
Not bad. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It's very nice. I have a beautiful big ass office now, so that's the coolest part about it.
It's lovely to hear.
Yeah, so that's my favorite part.
So someone talked about the Daunte situation. I think there was one other. I think there was some other brutality situation. Real quick, if I could.
Fatality situation, or are you
no,
referring...
like police.
You're referring to
situation.
the one where the army personnel was pulled over for like a temporary license plate or something. Yeah, no, it's like this. It's honestly, it's a trend. It's a trend of police officers expecting you to treat them like they're your boss when they're supposed to be protecting and serving. And it's mostly black men, young black men. They let their egos get the better of them, and totally understandably so. It's completely understandable why, right? Because they're being disrespected. But what ends up happening is that they will get pulled over for something and they'll challenge the police officer, and in a way that's going to cause an escalation. And then the police officer, out of frustration and pure lack of training to a point where they couldn't even flip burgers at a goddamn Burger King, honestly, either shoots or just pushes the line they push so far across the line into absurdity. And for whatever reason, police officers don't seem to understand that it's your job to deal with people who are resisting. That's your job. Suck it up, okay? And in every scenario, it is 100% the police officer's fault. But what I always say, and what I think that we need to start talking about, is like it's not fair, but people need to start swallowing their pride so that they get home to their family. Yeah. It's not fair that police officer in some of these situations are, targeting, black people or black. It seems mostly like young black men. It's completely unfair. But I think the priority needs to be getting home to your family safely while we deal with those issues externally.
I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on the new main situation? And I don't know if anybody asked you already.
I'm so the new main situation, from my understanding, is New Main is like a popular TikToker. I think like almost 3 million followers, where he pretty much all of his content is like stolen trends from other people, and that's kind of TikTok. But then he got called out for it by somebody, and then he slid into their DMs and like threatened them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like, "Oh, you should pull it down, or you're gonna have a problem," kind of a thing. Here's my thing, and then he was on lives. People are exposing him for being like, I'm basically an actor. It's okay that I do this. Here's the thing. You're not really an actor as a TikToker, but you're like kind of like a shitty actor as a TikToker. Like, if you really want to boil it down, like, yeah, when you're lip syncing or doing a dance for 15 seconds, like, you're an actor. You wouldn't survive outside of TikTok. Most people wouldn't. I don't think that there are really any. There's like one TikTok success story, kind of, and it's Charli D'Amelio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he takes himself far too seriously. I think it's totally fine that he takes other trends. I think it would be good for him to tag those people so that they get attention, but I don't I don't really care if he does or doesn't. What I do think is really stupid is that he tried to threaten somebody as if he's anybody, and you're nobody. So like, know your place as a TikToker, and just go like, know your place. I know my place. I'm a fucking TikToker. Like, you're not that serious. You need to stop being such a child. You know, you're not really in like an actor. Just stop. Like that's the pathetic. That's the part that gets me is that you think that you're something that you're not. Like it's not that serious. So
I'm just wondering, what do you think the outcomes are going to be of the Derrick Chauvin trials?
Oh, that's a good question. The outcome, I don't know. So there's so much going on there, and there's so many like different definitions of murder. My whole perception on that situation is I don't think that it was racially motivated, but he definitely killed a guy. It should probably be manslaughter. I don't think that he intended to kill. There's really no way for anybody to be like to prove some kind of like intent to kill George Floyd. It was just another shitty, irresponsible cop. He should absolutely go to jail. I think for manslaughter. I know that this has become a very political thing, so they're going to want to nail him on more to set a statement. And you know, I disagree with it logically, but sometimes there just has to be somebody that's used as an example. And if that happens to Derrick Chauvin, I think, then you know, you should have been a better cop. So if he gets something more than what would be legally required, I'm not losing sleep over it. That is what it is. You should have just been a better cop. You should have been acting more responsibly, and he killed somebody. So, you know, that's the way I feel about that.
I am curious about your opinion on the most recent Only Jayus shit that's going on.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, I think Jayus. Okay, so when Jayus was exposed for saying the N-word, she offered her platform to black creators, right? And then she basically ghosted a black creator trying to utilize her platform, right?
Apparently she actually ghosted a couple.
Did she? So, I don't know. We're kind of left. So what she's saying, which very well may be true, is that she just simply forgot to respond to those people. And, you know, whatever. Me personally, what I think is that I think that she absolutely intended to do it when she first offered it. And then I think after everything, you know, happened, she just didn't want to do it because she didn't want to drag it out. And now she's making a bullshit excuse not to do it anymore. That's my opinion on it. You know, she would have been better off not responding, but for some reason she decided to insert herself into drama once again. She has a problem just staying quiet. I don't blame her for not wanting to do it because it kind of drags it out. But then I also think it's shitty for you to offer something and then not follow through on it. Because after the person called her out like publicly, she's like, well, now that you did that, I'm not going to give you the platform. It's like, well, okay, it seems like you never intended to give the platform in the first place. So like, that's just like your way of being like, well, now because you called me out, you know what I mean? She gives herself an excuse to not do it. So, yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was feeling about it too. So I was just kind of curious what you were thinking about the whole entire thing. So
yeah, Jayus, she's a character. I'll tell you that.
That's for sure. I got her blocked. I hate her.
Yeah, no, I'm mutuals with Jayus. I don't think she's a bad person. I think that she's just struggling to do the right thing. I know a lot of people like that in real life, so I don't take it the same way as other people do. I try to be more humanizing because like it's easy to like really dehumanize somebody, and like obviously, you know, I understand why people aren't very empathetic to Jayus. They don't want to keep giving her chances. But like I know people like that, and like, you know, I guess I have a soft spot for her. But I understand why people don't like her. Oh, Jayus, what are we gonna do with you?
Y'all mentioned California earlier. I'm a Christian conservative from Alabama that just moved to California.
Why?
I've always tried to.
I'm just curious.
Why?
Yeah, why?
It is a good question. I do YouTube and TikTok as well. I'm a video editor, and I work with another professional YouTuber who lives out here.
Okay, that makes sense. So
I came out for work.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, not for the culture or anything
mind
like
if
that.
I mind if I ask who? You could totally say you can. It's like a
Josh Horton. He's a juggler, but he also does like sports trick shots and stuff like that. I'm a magician, so we kind of just hit it off a long time ago.
So you're more famous than me. What the hell? What are you asking me questions for?
No. But my question is,
wow.
I do always try to keep an open mind when talking about the stuff. Like I grew up like Christian conservative, so I have my opinions. But obviously, systemic racism has been like a big thing in the news, and most people just point to specific instances or bad examples to prove systemic racism. So this might be a dumb question, but just like, what is the general proof or where can I start to learn if I believe you think it's a real thing, and how do you fix it? So I guess that's two questions, but how do you know it exists? What's the proof? And then what's the solution?
So, okay, there's obviously a lot there. I think that first and foremost, there are two different, there's two generally different views on people who believe systemic racism exists. The first view is that there is still active racism within our systems now. And then there are people who believe that the impact of historically of systemic racism is still carrying on today, and that's what I believe, right? We do point to a history of, obviously slavery, segregation, redlining, banks denying loans to middle class Black people. As of recently, I believe that welfare is a form of systemic oppression, driving up the single motherhood rates. There's a lot, even Jim Crow laws. There's a lot when it comes to systemic racism. And what I would say is that Black people have been in America for longer than most people, and they're performing the worst out of any group in America in general. And I do think that unless you believe Black people are inherently inferior to a point where they have the net worth that's a fraction of everybody else, I think that common sense would dictate there is a problem there that is very specific to Black people. I think that the progressive narrative now is saying that it's all Black people are oppressed by systemic racism, which makes it difficult for conservatives to agree with it, because it's simply not true. When we look at oppression, let's keep it to the United States, everybody is oppressed or has some form of oppression, right? I have ADHD, OCD, I'm dyslexic, I have Tourette's, I was raised by a single mother, I'm fat. There's a million different forms of oppression, but my outcome in life was positive. And so I'm not oppressed. And there are Black people who are not oppressed for their skin color. They're performing well. But then there are people in society who are not performing well. And Black people are disproportionately not performing well. And a lot of times people will point to cultures like the culture in impoverished Black areas, which is a problem. But I would say that culture does come from a history of systemic racism. But the one big thing that I would try to sell people on is that the biggest issue we have in the United States isn't systemic racism. It's, I would say, lack of ability for poor people specifically to platform themselves and to be able to boost themselves and pick themselves up by the bootstraps. And it's a mixture of progressive and conservative policy that's historically shit on poor people. And I personally think that if you're poor in the United States, if you have a bad outcome, it's one of three things. One, you are oppressed to a point where you could never succeed. Two, you're lazy. Or three, a mixture between those two things. And because I don't think that we have enough opportunity for poor people to climb up to the middle class and perform better, we don't truly know which reason that is, regardless of any identity, whether you're Black, white, gay, straight, any of those things. So I think that we need to provide better opportunity to people overall in a good way, not in some bullshit performative micromanagement way. And if people are still not succeeding, then it's their fault. And I would focus more on class issues if you can't necessarily wrap your minds around a race issue.
Okay, great. Thank you. No, that's actually kind of what I've come to learn and believe, that the historic implications of stuff in the past has led to more minority groups being in the lower class, and then lower class is the oppression. Being poor is more of the problem in the
it gets very hard to, because everybody's history, for instance, so I'm German and Jewish, so German people, Irish people, Italian people, everybody who came here at first were victims of some kind of racism, and that went away as they were able to get opportunity through working. I just don't think that we've given that opportunity as a country to Black people well enough, and I think we just need to expand that.
All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Kind of help prove to the world that the differences between left and right and all these different opinions doesn't have to be a big, huge, awful thing. And I think it's a great thing for a lot of people. So
yeah. I appreciate you stopping by and asking. I really do.
Of course. Thank you.
Take care. I miss questions like that. It's been a while since I've got a really good systemic racism question. I always enjoy conservatives coming on to my platform and asking me like questions about progressive ideas like UBI and systemic racism. Those are always my best conversations I've ever had. They're always the most peaceful. They're always nice. They're always educated, understanding. They're always so great. It really is in my experience. I've had better interactions with conservatives that I disagree with than progressives that I agree with. It's incredible how that even happens.
If there's one thing that you wish you could learn before adulthood that you would want kids of our current generation to know, what would it be?
Okay, so your question is like, what's one thing like I basically wish I knew when I was a kid that I would tell people to learn from? 100% that the majority of you do not have a dream that you're going to chase. People in people in high school, and your parents do it too, and they don't do it because they hate you. They just don't understand. They have this idea that you should always pursue your dreams, and I am somebody who never had a dream. Most people don't have a dream. Most people don't have a dream job. If you do, pursue the hell out of it. If you don't, look for a job that pays well, that'll allow you to live comfortably, that you could tolerate and you're not going to hate. And if you don't like it 10 years, when you're 30 years old, you'll have the money to change your profession. You know, if I knew this, I would just be a fucking welder today. That's it. You know, don't worry about chasing your dream. Do something that seems rather amusing, that you can make good money and raise a family. Most people's dream is to just have a family or like play video games. So do something that supports your actual like dream or your hobby. Find fulfilling hobbies to fill in the gaps that a job doesn't allow. That's what I would suggest to you. And it's not always going to be college.
Yeah. Also, I just want to quickly thank you because I use your page as a forum to get different perspectives and also see issues that I wouldn't be able to normally see.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate you putting that much faith into me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, all right, my man, take care, and I hope to see you next week.
I don't really know anything about politics and all that stuff. So, what is like progressives and conservatives?
What do you mean? Like, what's a progressive and what's a conservative?
Yeah, because like you talk about it all the time, and like I don't really know what it is.
All right. Well, generally, everything really in life is a spectrum, and progressives are people who want to progress, and conservatives are people who want to conserve. I know that's a very simple breakdown. Usually, conservatives are people who believe that like our current way of life is functioning very well, and that we should maintain that. Progressives think that we need to enact new policy to change. I think that generally speaking, we always do need to change. But nowadays, I think that progressives are trying to change at the expense of just changing. And conservatives are really just trying to hold for, I say reactionary because some of the things progressives want to do are absolutely ridiculous and counterintuitive. There is a point of no return where you go a little too far in some instances. I don't like progressive policy because a lot of times it's very micromanagey, where conservatives do understand that there's individuality in life and that like we need to make sure that we maintain that. And like often as a government, when we do try to micromanage, we end up hurting people. Welfare, I think overall was a positive thing, but it has a negative impact, honestly, or it reduces the ability for poor people to climb out of poverty because welfare just keeps things to stay the same static. It doesn't actually enrich a broken local economy. And you look at a lot of instances like that. There is a lot of like policy from progressives like intersectionality and critical race theory, which are really great things for people to sit down and like have robust conversations about, but they don't necessarily have great applications to like the real world. And it's a lot here to talk about, but that's kind of, I guess, the gist of it. It's a very loaded type of a thing. I think it would be very difficult for somebody to sit down and give you a full rundown on the perspective of all conservatives and all progressives and everybody in between and like moderates as well. There's so much, but generally progressive is somebody who wants to move forward, a conservative is somebody who wants to stay the same. And I just want to make sure that as we move forward, we do so in a way that is good overall for society. So hopefully that answered your question. I know that was a lot.
So is like progressive, like I don't. Is progressives more leaning to like Democrats?
Yeah. So Democrats are generally okay. So yeah. So progressives will usually vote Democrat, and conservatives will usually vote Republican. Moderates and even some moderate conservatives tend to vote Democrat as well. Democrats aren't super progressive, though. There is like a left-wing niche that's like digging a very strong little, I guess you'd call it, nub inside of the Democrat establishment, like AOC and Bernie Sanders. And I think that they, while they may be well-intentioned, they have a negative impact on like the future. I think that a lot of their policies, they're nice, but they don't necessarily have practical application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. That helped a lot, actually.
I'm sorry if you've been asked this question before, but on TikTok, I've been seeing some stuff about this officer who accidentally shot this man, but she meant to pull out her taser.
Mm-hmm.
And some people were saying that was racially motivated or like something like that. I didn't really think it was racially motivated. Well, at first I was like, how do you confuse a gun for a taser? But then I saw the video; it looked like an accident.
Yeah,
I was wondering what you felt about that.
So,
like the interpretation.
Yeah, I did answer this today, but like you actually asked like a more in depth part of it, so I actually want to elaborate. So the first part of it is like, I'm honestly as an individual, I'm tired of police officers making mistakes. When they make mistakes, it's somebody dying oftentimes, and it's completely unacceptable. You're a police officer for a reason. You're there to protect and serve. I know it's easy to say it was an accident because like it probably was, but there should always be a protocol to make sure that the weapon, whether it's a taser or a gun that you're holding in your hand, is what you think it is. You get paid to double check. You get paid well. You get good benefits. There's no reason that should be happening. Personally, I think that she should go to jail for manslaughter at the very least. To the second thing with the racially motivated aspect, I want to explain to people why when something happens between a police officer and a black person, they instantly jumps on racially motivated, because it never really is. I don't think that even Derrick Chauvin is a racially motivated situation. What the problem is that in society, specifically in impoverished black areas, there are issues between police officers and black Americans. And every single time there's an issue with a cop, usually a white cop and a black person being the victim, activist groups will jump on it because you're never going to have your perfect martyr. BLM desperately claws at opportunities to be heard because the media doesn't give a fuck about black people, even progressive media, unless it's election time. And so oftentimes what happens is that like there's a situation where it may not be the ideal individual to rally around, but that's what's going to get you media coverage. And you usually get the most media coverage out of a person like George Floyd, who, he wasn't acting in the best way. He was on drugs, but it makes people fight. Right, he shouldn't have died, but it makes people fight because progressives defend the fact that like a police officer shouldn't be killing somebody, and conservatives like, well, he was a bad guy, so who cares? And those are the things that rile the most tensions. I know that you asked specifically about this one guy. I think it was like he got pulled over for like a minor infraction, like there was a warrant out for his arrest, and then he went back in the car. And these are the situations, that they jump on. People jump on them. So I don't think it was racially motivated, but that's why like BLM will jump on this, because they're just looking for attention, like not in a negative way. Like they need the attention. There needs to be advocacy for black people, but they don't get to pick their martyr. So that's why people say it's racially motivated.
I just wanted to know your thoughts on the Steven Crowder video where he reenacts the killing of George Floyd.
Yeah, so I believe he was trying to do that to be like, oh, see, putting a knee on your neck doesn't kill somebody, right? Is that what his goal was?
Yeah, I think he was trying to prove that the knee didn't necessarily kill George Floyd. It was more like other stuff, like drugs and stuff.
I mean, here's the thing. So first of all, the experts are saying that it literally was the knee, so I'm inclined to believe them. Even if it wasn't, and drugs were a factor, if you didn't put your knee on the back of his neck with his hand in his chest in a way that compressed him so he couldn't breathe, he wouldn't have died. So I don't really care. It was gross negligence by that police officer. So I'm not like feeling super empathetic. It's incredible how much of I think it is like a conservative gaslight to completely just ignore it was like 9 minutes. I don't know. We're very like, I don't know, like common sense just doesn't exist to us right now. I think the best defense would be, oh, it's not murder, or yeah, it's not murder because you can't prove intent. I understand that argument, because I don't think that he intentionally killed George Floyd. I think he just didn't care and he acted negligently. But like I said before, while it should probably be like a manslaughter charge, at the end of the day, he killed somebody due to gross negligence, and yeah, this is politicized, and yeah, maybe it's unfair for Derrick Chauvin to get a worse sentence than, to get like a murder charge when he should only get a manslaughter charge. But it's not fair to George Floyd that he's dead. So, it's one of those things where that's kind of where we are,
So, like, what's your problem with those people who say all white people are racist, or you can't be racist to white people, like toxic progressives? Like, what are your main problems with like those types of people? I guess you could say.
Yeah, there's a lot. I have a lot of problems with that. So first and foremost, it's like a bizarre gaslight. It's the weirdest fucking thing in the world. So there's a lot here for people who say you can't be racist towards white people. They equate whiteness. There's a lot here. So there's a lot. I know I keep saying that.
A lot
so
to unpack.
These people. Okay, let's start from the beginning, because this is a lot, and I'm very educated on the counter debate to this. The definition of racism that excludes white people from being able to be the victim is a sociology and anthropology definition, and those are studies of society. It makes sense to compound individual and systemic racism into one definition, because when you're studying society, you're not studying individual perspectives, but we are individuals with individual interactions. If your argument, it makes really very little sense. At the end of the day, on an individual level, we're supposed to treat each other the same, which is why racism should be able to be treated the same on an individual level. Whereas a societal level, it's different. White people aren't generally the victims of systemic racism. Black people, you would say, generally are. Maybe you could say affirmative action is anti-white. I don't know if I'd go that far. But like,
it's also annoying when you hear people say shit like, "Oh, you can't oppress the oppressor."
Sure, yeah, which is what I was getting into.
It's an individual, not an oppressor.
Well, right, so. Yeah, and that is a factor. The thing is that when it comes to this definition, again, like it's usually like intellectuals who will use this definition, and I think that they use it in good faith. They equate whiteness to a literal social construct, but by that logic, if I don't identify as white, then it doesn't matter. But a lot of times, it's good faith of very intelligent people who perpetuate this idea, and I think that if everybody was good faith and accepted it in good faith, then I would be fine with not being able to be the victim of racism. The problem is that most people don't act in good faith. You have a lot of legitimate racists who just want to hate white people that will use this to be racist towards white people while saying, I can't be racist towards you because you're basically less than, and I get to use this definition to weaponize that. That's a huge problem. It's used to be racist or prejudiced by other people's logic, and it makes no sense. On an individual level, we're supposed to treat each other colorblind. When I go to a store, I'm not expected to treat a black guy any differently. I'm not supposed to get on my knee and raise a fist. That would be ridiculous, racist, and derogatory to that person. We're supposed to interact, in a very colorblind way individually, and then systemically, or from a societal perspective, we're supposed to advocate for, fixing the individual issues of individuals, which would really go towards like who you vote for in legislation. The biggest problem I have, though, is that a lot of progressives think that this is a priority, and I would ask this: what does redefining racism do for the poor black kid in the ghetto? It does nothing. It doesn't do anything for them. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't, even if we won, what would happen is, let's say they redefined racism. Educated, privileged progressives, regardless of skin color, who don't actually identify with real black issues of the specific black people who are victims of systemic racism, they feel like they won and nothing actually happened. It's very performative, it's very symbolic, and it means very little to actually eradicate systemic racism. So people just need to shut the fuck up, because you're not helping. You're making people care less about black people, which is always terrible. Not a single black person in the ghetto gives a singular fuck about the definition of racism. They just would generally care about if they have money or if they're going to get shot tomorrow. So maybe we don't really give a fuck about this whole definition of racism. It's performative and ridiculous.
And like another thing is, like, I don't think the people who are advocating for this stuff, I don't think like any of them actually grew up in the hood.
No,
they didn't grow up in the Bronx or Harlem.
No, they're always, that's why I said, they're privileged like leftists who don't actually have any like real identification with. That's the problem with saying all black people are issues of systemic racism. They're not. There are definitely pockets of, like, I would say that pockets of impoverished black people are absolutely the victims of like historical systemic racism. But when you say all black people are victims, all of a sudden you're saying people like Christian Walker is the victim of systemic racism, or Candace Owens. They're not. There are a lot of black people who aren't the victims of systemic racism. And like, we do need to speak generally to understand the general problems in particular marginalized groups. But when we speak too generally in a way that we assign those issues to everybody that belongs to that group, you get very ignorant. For instance, like, there's huge issues with people who grow up in single parent households. I grew up in that. I'm not oppressed by it because I have a good outcome in life. So why would I play victim when I have no issue? You shouldn't do that. I'm not fully straight. I'm attracted to men, but I've never been oppressed for being bisexual or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So why would I sit here and perpetuate a victim mentality for that? Hirsch. I meant Hirsch. Was it Christian Walker? Did I say the right person?
Yeah,
I did. Okay.
Although both him and his dad are not oppressed either.
Right. Yeah. No, that's what you do. When it comes to oppression, you look at outcomes. And if your outcome is good in life, you're not oppressed. Everybody has you could probably sit here and give me 20 different ways that you're oppressed. But it doesn't matter, because if you have a reasonable outcome in life, that oppression had no impact on you. So it doesn't matter. So.
I could just be like, so I'm ethnically Jewish.
Yeah, me too.
Like 50%. I could just be like, I'm still oppressed because I'm still negatively affected from the shit that my Jewish ancestors had to go through. I could just do that all day, but what does it really do for me?
Nothing. And you couldn't you couldn't even prove it. If you have a middle class black guy saying I'm a victim of systemic racism, like, fucking prove it. You probably couldn't. That's how this whole thing works. If you're doing well in
like
life,
you said, how they like generalize, like, all black people, like they assume all black people are oppressed. Like, certain black communities across the U.S., like, they face different types of racism. Like, the racism in the South is going to be completely, like, the racism that a black person would face in the South be very different than racism that a black person would face in New York City.
Oh yeah,
the Bronx.
I would say that. Yeah, no, I would say that, like, races or issues with black people in New York aren't necessarily. They were historically race related, but now they're lingering impacts of that, historical oppression. But now I would say in the South, there's probably a better argument to active like racism. But again, everybody's particular issues impact everybody differently based on multiple factors, such as where you live or what's your financial status is, et cetera, et cetera. So, we need to focus more on solutions of expanding opportunity rather than bickering about, like, the hyper specific ways that maybe this does exist when it doesn't matter. We don't benefit when we have 4-hour conversations about specifically the way systemic racism might work. I had a conservative in here who didn't necessarily believe in systemic racism, but they were totally on board for class issues. You're oppressed more by your class than anything else in the United States or in the world. So let's focus on something that was tangible that we know we can fix. And most people are totally in for it. But people aren't interested in solutions. They're interested about bitching and seeming as woke as possible.
I have one more smaller question.
Sure.
It's a UBI question. So I'm pro UBI, and my teacher, one of my teachers, isn't. And he says that, aren't people just gonna quit at a high, like, their jobs? And like, another thing is that, like, if I'm giving a $1,000 check every month to, I don't know, like a crackhead or somebody addicted to drugs, I'm basically giving the money to die.
Yeah.
Like, what would I say to that?
So, well, for one, I would love to talk to your teacher. So first and foremost, you should ask your teacher, where can you live in the United States for $1,000, like, outside of, like, marginally? I doubt.
I actually live in Canada.
So then, yeah. Okay, so in Canada, where I don't know if Canada needs a UBI. I'd say that UBI is good.
It's actually getting a UBI in like 10 years.
Okay, yeah, that's not a bad thing. So the worst case scenario from what I've looked at when UBI was implemented is that people wanted to work less hours. Like, and who cares? With technology going on now, it doesn't matter if you only want to work 30 hours. It really doesn't. I don't think that anybody could live outside of like marginally on $1,000 a month. Would there be people who would quit their jobs? Probably. But those people are, I don't really care about those people. Most people wouldn't. If I had $1,000 now, I would still do what I'm doing. My partners would still do what they're doing. Most people, ask your teacher, would you quit your job if you got a UBI? They'd probably say no. As far as the crackhead thing, at the end of the day, like everything has a negative to it. I'm not super concerned if a drug addict's getting $1,000 a month. Are they going to spend it on drugs? It's possible. But how many people are we going to be able to deter from drugs by providing them a reduction in stress through like more money? A lot of people who do drugs do it because of like broken family type situations. Part of those broken families come from welfare programs that like encourage single motherhood rates. I would say that overall UBI would reduce stress and would reduce. I actually think there was a study. I don't have it on me, that like people actually, it reduces their stress. It's going to reduce the people in the future going on to drugs. Are drug addicts now going to stay on drugs? Probably, but that's a problem with the way that we deal with drug addicts. These AA programs, these Alcoholics Anonymous or drug programs are generally very centered on religion, which doesn't work. When you leave that religious environment, you go right back to drugs. It's impractical and it's a bad way to deal with drug addicts. So that's a whole independent issue. And at the end of the day, it's you're better. You will generally know what to do with your money better than someone else. And if a drug addict, if people don't do it, use the right thing, that's on them. That's individuality 101. I believe in individualism. And if you make individual bad choices, you reap the consequences. And that's life. And that's how you learn. And some people aren't going to benefit, but most people will.
Yeah, and another thing that my teacher said, I think he's kind of an idiot for saying this. He says that, only like the super rich, wealthiest of the 1% support UBI because it will benefit them the most.
I don't think that's true. In the United States, I know people like Elon Musk. I know that like our richest in the United States do say that. I don't think it's because they think there's like an angle to play. I think it's because they acknowledge that like, yeah, technology is removing jobs at such a rapid rate that we need to deal with it. And the best way to deal with it is to give people money. Honestly, it's the least micromanaged way to handle a mass loss of jobs. Some people talk about jobs programs. I don't believe in that. I think that it removes the positives of capitalism, of allowing people to express themselves and take risks on ventures that could yield massively positive results and massively great inventions. And by forcing people into jobs rather than letting them categorize themselves, I think that you're taking away from capitalism. I think UBI is probably the best. It's the most pro-capitalism solution to technology moving forward than anything else.
Yeah. So back to the first thing I said, which was if people start getting UBI, they're going to start to quit their jobs. One thing my teacher said was, so do you think if I give every one of my students an A, that they'll show up to class?
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, I don't know, I would.
No, so he's using a very bad example. Okay, so in his example, I would ask him, why does he think $1,000 is that the UBI that we're talking about, $1,000?
Yeah.
Why does he think $1,000 is equivalent to an A and not to like 20 points? You don't succeed fully in life by getting $1,000. Getting an A would be like if somebody gave you $100,000 a year or $10,000 a month, right? I don't have to work for anything. A UBI doesn't do that. A UBI gives you just enough to help you build and succeed off of that. UBI is maybe a D at best, right? You're not going to fully succeed. So he's giving you like it's a false equivalency for a conversation. It doesn't give you instantly like, I'm successful, I'm done. No, $12,000 a year, I would die on that. I don't know what you're talking about. So that's what I would start with, like,
especially in Canada, which it's a very expensive country to live in.
Yeah. So I would focus on that. Like, if he gives you an example, just diminish his example to help him figure it out.
Yeah.
I was talking to my teacher today, and I was talking to him about like UBI, and I don't know if you've already answered something like this. I got here like 30 minutes ago, but he was telling me about negative income tax and how he thinks that that's a better solution.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want me to contest that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So first and foremost, I think I would be okay with negative income tax. I think it's still like a step in the right direction towards universal basic income. My issue with negative income tax is it is great that it helps poor people, which is like a good thing, but it doesn't have a help for the middle class. And I do still think that it maintains some of the problems of welfare, which is you're putting a particular cap on how well you can do before you lose your benefits. So but one of the issues with welfare is if you do too well, you lose your welfare. Well, with a negative income tax, if you make too much money, you lose your negative income tax. And usually the more difficult the job, the more that you get paid. So it doesn't really incentivize you working harder at a certain point. I think that you're better off getting like purely unconditional money. The only condition on UBI is that you don't have welfare. I think that that's great because like it doesn't matter how hard you work, you still get to keep that money. It doesn't have a cap on like incentivizing you to better yourself. So that's why I like universal basic income. I also think that we should just be giving it to. I think that it also helps empower the middle class, where negative income tax really just focuses on the lower class. That would be my selling point for UBI over negative income tax. But I still think negative income tax is better than welfare because it's less micromanaged.
What are your views on gun control?
Oh, so I had answered this a little while earlier, but my general views on gun control are this. I believe in the Second Amendment. I do think that people should have the right to bear arms. I think, if anything, we should expand gun usage by teaching youth how to properly utilize guns and operate them in a respectful, safe manner with a lot of education on it to respect the weaponry. I think that you need to learn to respect it. But I remember watching Barack Obama talk about how we've drastically reduced vehicle deaths by implementing a driver's license, and I don't think that that's I think that's something we should consider when it comes to gun control. I don't see why we shouldn't be, we should reduce the lethality of guns when it comes to like mass consumption. I don't know that you should have access to fully automatic weapons with like high capacity, rounds. You don't need to be able to do that. It ends up killing a lot of people. And I don't see anything wrong with denying guns to people who are mentally incapable of having guns. I know a lot of people would say that we need to have the same guns capacity that the military has, but we don't need to have that in order to have the government be afraid of us. That's what it really comes down to. We have guns to protect us. I don't think that we need to worry about the president having the military sweep through the United States. It's more on these one-on-one, not even one-on-one, but like small interactions. For instance, at the beginning of COVID, there was a bunch of white people went outside. I forget what state. It might have been Missouri. I don't remember. But they went outside whatever government building, I forget what it was, and they protested. And now I think that they were wrong in protesting, but the police didn't fuck with them because they had guns. So like, that's the point. The point of guns is to make sure that the government has a healthy amount of fear for its citizens. So I think that we should expand gun usage, but also make sure that it's safe.
So basically, me and my friends, we've been arguing over this for like months now. And I don't know if it was like a joke because it seems kind of ridiculous to me, but I saw on your TikTok that you agreed with the men curfew thing at 6 p.m. and I was just kind of wondering about your views on your views on the 97% thing and the curfew thing.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in the 6 p.m. curfew. I made a joke out of it. Yeah, no, I was like, we should just have one for women instead. The 97% thing is rather loaded. The statistic is very questionable because it's very questionable because it adds things in like staring. And I think that we as a society, we do need to understand and teach young boys not to be too persistent and to create safe, and like really not just boys but people in power, which is generally men, but to not be too persistent and to respect women and to make sure that they feel comfortable saying no without fear of harm. But we also need to make sure that we teach young women that not every interaction is predatory. We have this weird thing nowadays where like women, like we're trying to teach women that everything is predatory. Like if you are with a guy and let's say he asks to sleep with you and you say no, and he's a little pushy, that doesn't make him a predator. It makes him a fuckboy. not everything is this horrible situation. If a guy's looking at you in public, it doesn't mean that he sexually assaulted you or harassed you. Like, looking at people is normal. And a lot of times, a lot of women, especially on TikTok, they'll dress very provocatively, and then that is asking for sexual attention. It doesn't mean that you can touch that person. It doesn't make it appropriate for you to be like, oh, nice boobies. But like, let's be honest, if you have your breasts out and you have a thong on, you're sexualizing yourself and you're asking for people to comment on your looks.
Yeah.
It's not a hot take. And nowadays that's considered sexual harassment. And it's like, no, it's not. That's not. And now if somebody touched you, of course it's sexual harassment. But that's not what's happening. And we need to make sure that we set a solid line of what is and isn't appropriate and what is and isn't predatory or violating, which we're failing at right now. Clay is in the voice chat. Oh, then maybe I could talk to my best friend Clay afterwards. Where's Clay? Is this actually Clay in here? Is that actually my friend Claymond? And I'm going to close him down in 5. Clay, you've been sitting there the whole time. You have fucking Batman as your thing. What the hell are you doing?
I'm Batman.
That's, you sounded like him. I almost thought it was Batman for a second. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just chowing on some pizza.
That's good. You sound like you're in good spirits, man. That's great. I like that. How you feeling lately?
Yeah, I'm in good spirits, and I have spirits following me.
Oh,
everywhere.
okay. Or does that mean you're drinking, or are you just feeling a little crazy tonight?
Yeah, I'm an alcoholic.
All right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
How's everything been going for you?
Good. So I was considering this job. I think I told you about it, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm doing like DoorDash and stuff. I just want to have more freedom.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Like you have like a successful TikTok career. Like I'm not even kidding. Like it's good to do something flexible so that you can pursue that more easily. Like it's not a bad risk to take.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things with this job is like being available is like super mandatory to the point where like you'd have to be extremely ill to not come in. And I was just like, fuck that. Like I want to like it'd be hard to drop something on a dime if like I get an opportunity to travel or like I entered in, my manager got me a submission to a comedy festival this summer.
That's great.
So it's with Just for Laughs, which is like a huge thing, but it's in Montreal. So if I get submitted, they would fly me out. It's more of like a networking thing, getting my name out there.
That's great. Yeah, definitely do something like a little more casual. Like you have you have really solid potential to like actually make a career out of your TikToks. So like it would, make yourself available. Like worst case scenario, which I don't even think is going to happen because I've seen nothing but success come out of you, is that like you can find a career down the line. Like it takes like 5 years to get to like the peak of a career. You know what I mean? So like you don't have to fucking worry about it. Yeah, definitely do something that's more open ended like that. For sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been researching a lot. I mean, if you're smart about it and stuff, like with no way to not make like $100 to $200 a day doing it, and
what's that with the DoorDash?
Yeah, with DoorDash or like any delivery really service.
Yeah, you can do pretty well.
Yeah,
definitely go for that. Yeah, definitely do that. That's great that you got into that thing. What I would like though, Clay, is that I would actually like to, like, if I could get you on like a podcast or something, like I can get you for like an hour next week. Whenever you're free, and just like on voice and video if you can, and just have like a chat with you. That would be awesome. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure I could do it through mobile. I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah, you could do it through Discord mobile, no problem at all. Yeah, that'd be great. I would really appreciate that. I'm trying to get my podcast shit back on. I don't know if you watch my YouTube video or if you, but I'm changing my content a bit up to more podcasty type stuff. So that'd be awesome. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah, I'd love that. So I love you, Clay.
Yeah,
and text me. Hey everyone, if you liked that video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow my Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and TikTok. All links are in the description. Also, check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me even more than you already do. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you all.
No, I just wanted to say that Jen Miga sucks.
You guys are so mean.
All right. So, how'd you feel about the situation with DN a couple weeks ago? Like the guy, DN.
DN's nuts? Is that what you're just me? You just left immediately.
Did you? So you heard about what happened with Vin Diesel, right?
No, what happened with Vin Diesel? What has been going on since I've been gone for a week?
There's a lot that happened. So Vin Diesel nuts in your mouth.
What? That's it?
Vin Diesel nuts in your mouth.
Yeah, but I don't know. What is that supposed to sound like? Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel nuts in your mouth.
Vin Diesel. I don't know, man. That's a stretch.
Nah.
Vin Diesel nuts in your mouth? Come.
Fit. It's supposed to sound like fit in these hole. Come on.
I googled it, and apparently Vin Diesel's neighbors are complaining that his security team have been abusive and absurd when protecting his family in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, well, I guess that does exist then.
So I guess fit these nuts. I don't know. That one's just fucking rough. I appreciate the attempt though, but also Vin Diesel, you got to be better with your security personnel.
So have you heard about the oil situation in Sudanese? Answer the question.
Have I heard about the oil situation in Sudanese nuts? Is that what you're asking me?
No, Sudanese oily nuts.
Oily nuts. Okay, you got me there.
You may catch more flies with honey, but you catch more honeys being fly.
That's true.
I want you to sit there.
What?
Not do anything for 10 seconds.
You want me to just sit here and do nothing for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay.
You hear that? Papa? Did you hear that?
I was just waiting 10 seconds. Did I hear what?
Yeah. There's no dogs.
Oh, there are no dogs. I know because I'm in a new house. Look at this.
No.
No dogs. It's fantastic.
No dogs.
Maybe that's why I've been so happy. I didn't even think about. I stopped thinking about those goddamn dogs. They always. I got to get like a sound thing, the sound bite that plays it. A very interesting story about the dog. So for those of you who don't know, my old office was in my old house, and I had lived with my mom for a while. And when we got them, they always would bark all the time. Any little sound that they would bark, they'd bark at me when I walked in. They would constantly bark. I'd have to yell at them to shut up. I moved out yesterday, all my stuff. I came back later, and they didn't bark at me at all. Like, once I removed myself from the house, they just stopped barking at me.
If you had to have sex with two people with the combined ages of 30, what ages do you pick and why?
I'm going to take a 30-year-old. Hold on. I'm going to take a 29-year-old in 6 months that's pregnant.
Oh, no. Two people.
Whoa, are you saying a fetus isn't a person?
No. Oh, okay. No,
that's terrible. I can't believe you'd say that. That's some liberal propaganda.
Okay, you won. Okay, fuck you, GG. Fair play. Have a good one.
Take care.
All right, so since I have one question, I'm gonna probably pick the most important one. Did you hear about the Candace situation?
God damn it!
Did you hear about it?
No, I didn't hear about the Candace situation. What happened?
Oh, okay. So can these balls fit in your mouth?
You guys are ridiculous. I had to give you that one because you guys have been at it all day with that shit. So I gave you guys that win. You guys are. I love how you come in here and you're like, okay, I only got one question. Let me get the most important one. But just curious, what was the other question gonna be? Was it gonna be what are your opinions on fast food? Do you like Wendy's? Wendy's nuts in your mouth? Like, what was the next question that you were gonna come in and ask here?
I was gonna ask if you're the imposter from Among Us.
Okay.
All right, so I've been asking a lot of my friends, and they don't really seem to like them. But I like music a lot. I usually listen to them on CDs. Do you like CDs?
You see these nuts in your mouth or in your face? Like, which one is it? That's a joke. Is that it? Did I catch it? What are you? Oh, he just ran away. You bastard.
I was gonna ask if you heard about what happened in Arizona. It was somewhere like stuff in Arizona. I'm not sure though.
What happened in Arizona?
I was stuffing that cock in your mouth.
What?
I
Wait.
said it was in stuff in Arizona.
Oh, I didn't hear the stuffing part. All right,
Son of a bitch.
I didn't hear
Fuck
that.
it up.
If I heard, he just left.
Can you tell me like the story of your beard? Like how long did it take? Why did you decide to grow it out?
Of my beard. Okay, I got a little story of my beard. Okay, so let's say before 2 years. 2 years ago is the last time that I cut my beard, not just trimmed. I cut my beard.
Okay.
And you know, I never used to groom it. It looked like shit, and I actually tried to trim it because I was going on a date with my one of my partners, and I accidentally cut it like all off, and I looked terrible. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start growing it. I started combing it every day. I started putting product in it every once in a while, and everybody just likes it.
Oh, very cool.
That's it. That's the best I got for you. You know, sometimes I get product from Lush. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a very like an expensive girly soap store, but just so you guys know, the girlier products work pretty well. Use men's razors and girly other products.
Yeah, I agree with that. I use girly product for my hair because I have like really long curly hair and it gets like super frizzy.
Yeah, girl products work very well, except for their razors. Those are dog shit.
So, have you seen all this business about Malone on TikTok, or are you following him at all?
I'm nervous that this is a D's nuts joke.
No, it's not.
Okay, who's Malone then?
Malone Dick.
Oh my god damn it, you motherfucker.
Hey, so have you heard of the what's his name? Colin Lee situation? I think that's his name.
Colin Lee, huh? Is this a nuts joke?
No. It's
What
KOLINLI is his last name. He's from Asia.
Okay.
Basically, he was racially profiled. He's from Sakan Asia. Sakan my dick.
I was like sitting here, I'm waiting for it. I fucking knew it, you bastard.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. They're getting more creative. I appreciate them.
I tried.
You're getting there. You guys are getting there.
Before I start anything, I just wanted to say that I've been a really big fan of you for a really long time.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So, my question is they're canceling this really big, like, I don't know if you've heard of it because it almost just got canceled yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, there were these like really, really small penny companies, right? And they were making these like really cool, like these trademark pennies, but one of them made like a black creator's face on one of them without consent.
Okay.
And I was just wondering what your thought on that was.
It's
called penny trading.
What? Penny trading? I thought
penny trading.
Isn't that like a stock?
Well, it's not like a stock. It's just like these people, like that's what it's called. Penny trading your mom.
Oh, there we go. There you go. That was pretty good. I was a little suspicious on that. That's pretty good. I just found the Urban Dictionary one. Not too bad. Not too bad. Penny trading your mom.
Okay. Have a good night.
Take care.